Hello everyone, and welcome to Chapter 2 of my Attack on Titan Complete Recap series. This is the second in a 6-chapter series where I recap every major event in Attack on Titan chronologically leading up to the finale. Before we really begin, here's a quick catch-up of where we are right now in the timeline. The Eldian Empire has fallen and the only piece of territory is the island of Paradis, at which the population, besides the royal bloodline and some non-pureblood Eldians, have had their memories altered to believe that Titans mysteriously appeared and wiped out the rest of humanity. The Eldians outside of Paradis are treated as second-class citizens, and Marley controls 7 of the 9 Titans. Also, I forgot to add in the last chapter that 2 other names that Eldians are given by the rest of the world are Subjects of Ymir and Island Devils. There are also some things I need to correct from Chapter 1 as well. The 10th type of Titans are not called mindless Titans, they're called pure Titans. I also made a mistake when I said that there were multiple citizens of Hizuru who started the Oriental clan, when in reality, the clan was started by one guy who was a son in Hizuru's Shogun clan. Pretty much every other member of Hizuru was still living in the country besides that one guy. So what I said about a few Asmodeus escaping off Paradis during the Purge was inaccurate. I also said that 743 was 100 years before the Grim Reminder, but it's actually 102. A minor mistake on my part. I should also go over the process of a shifter actually entering their Titan form. To enter their Titan form, a shifter must have an open wound anywhere on their body. This is because Ymir had multiple open wounds from King Fritz's hunters when she first gained her Titan powers. They must also have a clear goal in mind as well, as Ymir had a clear goal in mind to protect herself and survive when she first gained her powers. In addition to the Titan power, a Titan shifter also inherits the memories of the person they've received the power from. When in their Titan form, any injuries they've had beforehand are healed, and they control the Titan from the nape of its neck. A Titan's skin is extremely hot, and any injuries that the Titan gets are healed after a certain amount of time. The only place you can fatally injure a Titan is on the nape of its neck. Now that that's all out of the way, we can begin. We start in the year 780, 65 years before the Grim Reminder. A homeless girl in Marley who has no name is adopted by a man. This man, for whatever reason, gives the girl the name Ymir. No, not that Ymir. This Ymir and Ymir Fritz are 2 different people. However, the man thinks that the Ymir he just adopted is a reincarnation of the founding Titan, and it turns out this guy is actually the head of a cult that also goes by the name of Subjects of Ymir that worship the founding Titan herself. Ymir, this one, not that one, is then worshipped by the cult as a reincarnation of the founding Titan, knowing that she isn't a reincarnation of the founding Titan. Ymir deceives the cult anyway and enjoys a life that's somewhat luxurious compared to what she had before, which was nothing. This luxurious life is cut short, however, as 5 years later, the Marley authorities are made aware of the cult and arrest them all. Ymir and the cult members are then stoned and then taken to undergo the worst punishment that Eldians living in Marley can receive. Ymir, again this one, not that one, and the cult members are taken to Paradis, but not to the civilization inside the walls. Since all the Eldians living in Paradis are actually inside the walls, the Marleyan forces don't have to worry about even being noticed while on the island as long as they don't go near the walls, which are way towards the center of the island. The officers take Ymir and the cult members on top of a wall near Paradis' shore and inject them all one by one with Titan Shifter spinal fluid, turning everyone into pure Titans. Ymir will continue to wander the island of Paradis as a pure Titan for almost the next 65 years. This punishment has been given to many Eldians before. It will continue to be given for many years. This is also how all the pure Titans during seasons 1, 2, and 3 end up on Paradis. But of course no one on Paradis knows this besides the royal bloodline. We jump forward to the year 817, 28 years before the Grim Reminder. 2 Eldian siblings living in Eldian internment zones in the Marleyan city Liberio, named Grisha and Faye Jaeger, are out one day when an airship catches the eye of Grisha. He wants to go see it closer, but to do so he has to exit the internment zone, which Eldians can't do without permission. Despite Faye being hesitant at first, Grisha and his younger sister sneak out of the internment zone to see the airship. They are then seen by 2 officers, Gross and Aaron Kruger. Gross and Aaron are about to punish both Faye and Grisha, and the latter decides to take the punishment for both of them. Grisha is given the option of either manual labor or a beating. Grisha, for whatever reason, takes the latter, and Gross walks home Faye while Aaron beats Grisha. However, Faye never comes back home, as Gross's sick and twisted mind decides to punish Faye himself by feeding her to his dogs. This knowledge is not made public information, even to the family of Faye, who have no idea how she even died as her body was only found in a river. We then jump forward again to the year 832. Grisha, while still not accepting his sister's death, wants to prove that Eldians shouldn't be held responsible for things that their ancestors did and that they can do great things as well. He goes on to become a doctor. One day, one of his patients, a man named Grice, reveals to Grisha the truth of Fate's death. He also reveals that he's part of the Eldian Restorationists, a group that aims to overthrow Marley and restore Eldia. The truth being brought to light prompts Grisha to join the Restorationists as well. From then on, Grisha and the Restorationists learn about Eldian history from an anonymous spy within the Marleyan authorities, lending help to the Restorationists known as the Owl. One day, the Owl sends in someone to join the Restorationists. Her name is Dinah Fritz, a descendant of the royal family. Grisha and Dinah fall in love, and a year later they get married and have a child named Zeke. Not long after, on Paradis, we then cut to the Underground, which is an underground city built under Paradis' capital city, Mistress. There, a woman named Kucho Ackerman, one of the last ones alive, gives birth to Levi Ackerman, who is a result of Kucho's work in the underground. Kucho's serial killer brother, Kenny, finds out from a government informant that the Rice family are the true royal family and tracks down two brothers, Rod Rice and Uri Rice, who is the current holder of the founding titan. While at first attempting to kill the two brothers, Kenny becomes Uri's best friend when Uri gets on all fours and apologizes for the decades of purging Kenny's bloodline. This brings the Ackerman purge to an end. Kenny then finds Kucho dead and decides to take Levi under his wing and train him to rob, steal, and kill, although eventually after a few years, Kenny abandons Levi. We are now in the year 830, 15 years before the Grim Reminder. Marley announces a new program known as the Warrior Program. The Warrior Program allows for Eldian children in Marley to be recruited and receive special combat and soldier training to eventually become one of the people who inherits one of the 7 titans that Marley is in possession of. This is the means for Marley to accomplish 3 of its goals. Number 1, take down the Eldian King. Number 2, make use of the fossil fuels in Paradis. And number 3, which the Owl anonymously reveals to the Restorationists, seal the founding titan. Grisha decides he'll enter Zeke into this program to act as a double agent. Over the next few years, Grisha and Dinah begin to start spending less and less time with Zeke, constantly sending Zeke to his grandparents' house while Grisha and Dinah attend Restorationist meetings. And when Grisha is home, all he does is educate Zeke on Eldian history. Grisha also learns that Zeke has been underperforming in his warrior training and must start earning higher marks in order to be chosen to inherit a titan. Knowing that the Restorationist plan hinges on Zeke making it into the warrior program, Grisha urges Zeke to perform better. After a big argument with Grisha, Zeke goes to his grandparents and reports Grisha and Dinah to the authorities, who arrest him for conspiring to bring down Marley. They are sentenced to be taken to the shore of Paradis and turned into pure titans, just like Ymir was. This one, not that one. Once they are at Paradis, all the Restorationists are turned into pure titans. When it's Dinah's turn to be turned into a pure titan, Grisha realizes that one of the soldiers that's injecting Dinah with spinal fluid is Gross, the man who killed Faye. Grisha pleads for his wife's life and tries to tell Gross that Dinah is a royal. However, for a reason that is about to become very apparent, he is silenced by another officer, Aaron Kruger. Grisha watches as Dinah and another Restorationist are turned into pure titans. Gross decides that he won't turn Grisha into a titan, but will instead push him off the wall so he can get eaten by his former comrades. But suddenly, Gross is pushed off the wall by Aaron Kruger and eaten. Aaron Kruger then reveals that he is the Owl. Not only that, he takes out a knife and cuts his hand and transforms into the Attack Titan. Also, it's literally never explained who Aaron Kruger inherited the power from. Like, ever. It's just a mystery that never gets answered for the rest of the series. Aaron Kruger then destroys the boats that the soldiers came to Paradis on and returns to the top of the wall with Grisha. He then explains that while he hated having to kill and torture thousands of his own people, he did it to eventually get to this point. He apologizes for playing a part in Faye's death, while also says that the fire he saw in Grisha's eyes that day is also the reason he's now entrusting Grisha with his final mission, to infiltrate the walls and take back the founding titan. It also so happens that Kruger is about to die due to the curse of Ymir and him already being at the end of his 13 years. Kruger tells Grisha to carry his Eldian brothers and sisters with him on this final mission. He tells him he must stand up and fight. He can only move forward, before death and even after death. He tells Grisha to start a family once he's inside the walls. He tells him to do this to make sure that history doesn't repeat. He tells him that if he wants to save Mikasa, Armin, and everyone else, he must do this for the sake of everyone's life, for the sake of the future. When Grisha asks who Mikasa and Armin are, Kruger says that he doesn't know, and that the names that he's remembering, the things he's seeing, aren't his memories, but someone else's. Kruger injects Grisha with the fluid, and Grisha eats him. This now makes Grisha the holder of the Attack Titan. Grisha makes it to Walmaria and is found by a soldier of the scout regiment, Keith Sades. Keith educates Grisha on life in the walls. Not long after, a deadly plague sweeps the civilization in the walls, but Grisha, being a doctor, develops a cure before lots of people could die. One of the people he saves is a woman named Carla. The two would fall in love and get married, and in the year 835 have a child who Grisha would name Aaron Yeager, after the man who entrusted Grisha with the hope to restore Eldia. We jump forward to the year 842, 3 years before the Grim Reminder. A 17-year-old Zeke has gained favor in the warrior program after turning in his parents. Zeke had begun to feel guilty for what he did, however, and begins to sympathize with his parents' efforts and supports the idea of Eldian freedom from the shadows. One day, Zeke is playing catch with a man named Tom Saver, the holder of the Beast Titan. Tom Saver had been there for Zeke back when Grisha and Dinah were still growing distant from him, and had pretty much taken on the role of a father to Zeke after Grisha and Dinah were sent to Paradis. One day, Tom reveals to Zeke that the Founding Titan can also alter the bodies of all Eldians. This gives Zeke an idea that the holder of the Founding Titan could use its power to make all Eldians sterile, rendering them unable to reproduce. If this works, it would mean that all Eldians would die off in 100 years without any need for violence on either side. Not long after, Zeke is chosen to inherit the Beast Titan from Tom, and from then on, he wears Tom's glasses as a tribute to him. It is then found out that since Zeke is part royal, when his spinal fluid is administered to any pure-blooded Eldian, he can transform those Eldians into pure Titans by roaring. In the same year of 842 on Paradis, Uri Reis's niece, Frida Reis, inherits the Founding Titan as well as his memories. In the year of 843, 2 years before the Grim Reminder, a new batch of warriors is finally chosen. The Armor Titan is inherited by Reiner Braun, the Jaw Titan is inherited by Marcel Galliard, the Female Titan is inherited by Annie Leonhardt, and the Colossal Titan is inherited by Bertolt Hoover. 1 year later, in 844 on Paradis, Levi Ackerman, Isabel Magnolia, and Ferlin Church are tasked with killing the 13th commander of the Scout Regiment, Erwin Smith. Erwin, however, offers to pardon Levi if he joins the Scout Regiment, and Levi takes up the offer. And since this is the second time the Scout Regiment has been mentioned so far, I should probably explain what that is. The Scouting Regiment is one of the 3 branches of the Wall Civilization's military, the other 2 being the Military Police and the Garrison Regiment. The Scout Regiment goes beyond the walls to fight the Pure Titans and attempt to expand human civilization. Just like everyone else on the walls besides the races, however, the Scout Regiment has no idea it's Marley who's been sending the Pure Titans after them for 100 years. They don't even have an idea of where the Titans are coming from, and they don't even know the existence of the other 9 Titans. Sometime during all this, Frida Reis constantly visits her half-sister Historia, who is the result of an affair between her father Rod and a woman named Alma. She'd constantly read stories to Historia, but to keep her safe, Frida would always use the Founding Titan's power to erase Historia's memories afterwards. Later in the year 844, one of the last surviving Ackermans, a 9-year-old Mikasa, has her house raided by bandits. These bandits are attempting to sell Mikasa and her family, as some of the last surviving Ackermans would be worth a lot. As Mikasa's parents continue to resist, both of them are killed. Meanwhile, Grisha is accompanied by a 9-year-old Aaron for an appointment with Mikasa's family. Aaron wanders into their home to see both of the parents dead and Mikasa on the floor. In a fit of rage, Aaron kills both of the bandits. With nowhere else to go, Mikasa is taken in by the Jaegers. One day, Aaron gives Mikasa his scarf as a gift, and from then on, Mikasa develops a crush on him, though Aaron only sees her as a sister at best. And that brings us to the end of Chapter 2. The current year is 844, 1 year before the Grim Reminder. Grisha Yeager has infiltrated the walls on a mission to take the Founding Titan and restore Eldia, while the warriors are gearing up to infiltrate the walls as well, but to take the Founding Titan and take down Paradis. I hope to see you all in the next part when we finally cover the Grim Reminder, as well as the beginning of humanity's counterattack. Thank you all for watching, and make sure to like and subscribe to see more recaps like this. And that's all from me.